So I'm here with Omid Djalili. He's back out on the road again, chatting about his tour, and he's currently on his way to Lincoln. So thank you for your time. How's life treating you?
Yeah, very good, mate. Treating, I would say, a little bit too well. I mean, I'm excited because I'm back on stage, but the audience last night in Maidstone, my goodness. Talk about grabbing life with two hands. The bar was open, and I think they were there for about an hour before the gig. And my support act said, because I think they've had a few drinks. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, there's a couple who was asleep on the front row. I said, the front row is meant to be, they're my biggest fans. They buy the first tickets because, well, they're asleep. Some of them are unintelligible. And I'm just warning you. I went out, I swear to God, there were people getting up, going to the toilet. There was heckling. There were blotto. I mean, they were absolutely off their faces before I come on. So, yeah, life's treating everyone very well, but I think we need to have a bit of moderation, I think, when you get to theatres. The more well-behaved you are, the better the gig is. So I'm not saying the gig was ruined, but my goodness, I've never seen so many people blotto before a gig. So in a theatre as well. It wasn't even a comedy gig. Wasn't even a comedy club. It was a theatre. So,
proper theatre audience.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. On that note, I'm more interested. Have you ever sent anyone to sleep before with your comedy?
Yes, I've often. My wife fell asleep mid story. That's happened a few times. My kids have told me off, saying, "Dad, when you tell the stories, you don't need to do the accents." I've had a lot. People falling asleep is actually an interesting thing because that does happen in gigs. I've been to gigs. I went to a theatre show with Griff Rhys-Jones once, and I was front row. And I hadn't slept the night before. So you don't know where people have been and what they've done. And I fell asleep. And I just heard him shouting, and he was shouting at me to wake up. So, yeah, I've done it myself. But, people work hard, so
yeah. I
don't blame them. They come out for a good night, and it just catches up on them. Yeah, it happens. It happened to me.
Work hard and party hard, though. That's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I read you've done a couple of lockdown gigs. I mean, how did they go?
Oh, God. They didn't go very well at all. The thing was, I kind of lost control of, there was a lockdown gig where everyone was wearing visors and they weren't allowed to talk to me.
Right.
I just said, if you really have to heckle, and it was going well, and halfway through I said, if you really want to heckle, just steam up the inside of your visors and write the heckle back. And that's what they did. They spent the next time, everyone was just going, it was ridiculous. I lost control of them. That didn't need to be like that. But I did Zoom gigs. I did drive-in gigs. I talk about it in the show, actually.
Yeah.
It's a very, it was a remarkable time, and it was. I suppose it's a testament to the comedy community that we just refuse to be held down. The joy givers will always just try and get their stuff out.
Absolutely.
One way or another. If you look at my Instagram account, actually, I film lots of stuff and I put it up there, lots of fresh stuff, and
yeah.
I think that's the one thing we all just kept trying to keep our hand in it. It's very important for us.
Yeah, I mean that kind of leads into my next question. As a father and a husband and a comedian, there must have been plenty of comedy moments over the last 15, 18 months. Is there any you want to admit to?
Well, the things I talk about in the show is how arguments are resolved in the home when you have the backdrop of a global pandemic, which really puts into context, domestic arguments.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff in WhatsApp groups where communities come together.
Yeah.
You get mixed up with your football lads,
yeah.
And you kind of you send the wrong WhatsApp to, you kind of send what. I think I said something like Jorginho always rated him in response to a woman saying, has anyone seen my cat? Do you know what I mean?
We've all done that.
Pretty bad, stupid. There's worse. I'm just giving you the mildest examples.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of things like that have happened. But the great thing is, I think, is everyone's come together. We never had WhatsApp groups At least I don't remember having a WhatsApp group before the pandemic.
No,
I don't remember having community groups. I mean, I know they existed, but I never participated. So it was great.
No, it used to be chain emails. That was one we had at work. That were always just a disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I said, the tours. You're back on the road in September. How's it been? I mean, like you said, it sounds like you're happy being back on the road.
Yeah, I've done about 10 gigs now, and it's still an adjustment. It's still an adjustment where I mean, there was the last time I was in a theatre, it was socially distanced, and everyone had to wear masks.
Yeah.
And the only way to make it normal, I said, this doesn't feel normal, and they were just shaking their heads. I said, look, to give it a sense of normality, why don't we just pretend that you're all hostages and I'm the head of ISIS who just wants to practice a stand-up routine? And I started doing that, and every time I did a gag, I said, who do I have to shoot to get a laugh around here? and that seemed to get some kind of normality into the proceedings. But I think it's been the sheer excitement of people coming back is not enough, really, because you realise in lockdown we've all been used to like a higher quality content. Actually, we've been watching the best stuff, and I found that if I ever did something that was a bit lazy, or if I did like COVID variant gags that weren't that funny, but stuff you'd write like it'd be like a filler gag in a comedy club. So many COVID variant gags. I just had the bankers variant. It was pretty bad, but it cleared after 3 working days. Where someone like that would like get like, hey, people would like saying, is that the best you've got, mate? Is that it? So actually you realise you've got to talk about things in a new way, where people relate, where it's not just about you thinking, aren't I doing clever gags? So it's got to be basically of a higher level. Okay. And I think that's been the challenge. And as I've been going on, because majority, I mean, having to stick in a couple of old gags just because I didn't have a chance to write a whole hour and a half. Right. Yeah. When you haven't been out doing gigs, but the new stuff I've written, quite a few. I'd say 10% of it's already gone because it was didn't relate to anything or anyone. It was all about me thinking I was being clever. I mean, I think the cleverest, I've just dropped last night, the cleverest bit of stand-up I ever did. Okay. It's the cleverest routine I've ever done, but it doesn't relate. Right, okay. It doesn't relate to anything. It was all about where people make mistakes in the media, and no one picks it up. And I said, what if there was a mistake in films? So I could do this routine for you. I can't do it anymore. And I said, what if you make a mistake in a movie? How's that going to affect the rest of the movie? Like in Spartacus, if someone goes, I'm not Spartacus, he is. Or in Jaws, we're going to need a similar sized boat. Like, like E.T. do not phone home. We've just left the EU and the roaming charges are awful. If you get it, how does it change the film? But it was a really good routine, which actually I wrote it in pandemic with regards to mistakes politicians have made in the media. Right, okay. But we've moved on from that. Nobody really cares about that. So it's a whole routine that's just been dropped. So it's very interesting how the turnover of material is amazing. And it's a very fertile time because once you replace stuff, you've got to write other stuff. So it's a good time for comedians, I think. Okay, that kind of leads into my next question. I mean, are you adapting the show? Because obviously life across the UK in the last couple of weeks, it's not got any less insane. I mean, you got the petrol crisis for a start off. I mean, that's a whole new thing. I mean, are you adapting the show to take in new events? Yes, I am. Totally. It's adapting. It's kind of like, where were we during the pandemic and where are we going afterwards? Yeah. I'm making recommendations. And we sent a tweet. I was driving and my support act filmed me we went past the 10th petrol station. Right. And it was 9 of them were shut and this one was open. So I just did a funny video saying, there you go, look at the queue, but there are no petrol shortages. I was just repeating that. Yeah. Have you seen it? If you weren't going around looking for petrol stations, then you wouldn't find any petrol stations which had a problem, so it's your own fault. Oh. And I put that out at, I think it was 3 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, This was a couple of days ago. The Lincolnshire Post, in preparation for my gig tonight, they picked it up as a story.
Really?
Headline: comedian denies there's a petrol problem. It was because one of the editors there was a comedian himself, so
right.
they put it out. So it is. If you're thinking of stuff that's like there and then, it might get, if you put it out, it actually gets picked up. So yeah, it's a great way to get publicity for the show.
I was going to ask, have you seen the news story today about the petrol crisis? There's a guy in Northampton driving a carrier, and there's been like 20 cars following him thinking it was a fuel carrier, and they followed him for miles, and it turns out he was taking cement to a building site.
No, I didn't know that. It's hilarious.
Literally just come on the paper today, and as he's pulled into this building site, they've beat him and said, "Why didn't you tell us you were not carrying fuel?"
That's hilarious. They just followed him.
Yep, and one after the other for about, I don't know how many miles, but yeah, he turned onto a housing estate.
No, I had no idea. That's brilliant. That's hilarious.
Okay, so just on the subject of touring then, you've not toured properly for 18 months then. What have you missed and not missed about being on the road?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
On the road. Well, on the one hand, I don't mind because a few years ago I got a tour bus, and there were 4 of us going round, and I kept feeling sick on the tour bus. I said, "Lads, I'm going to have to give the tour bus back." They said, "No, you can't do that. We've got DVDs watching films, and there's a lovely ice box here. We've got our drinks on it." And I said, "Oh, I'll give it one more go." And I said, I can't give it. I can't continue."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, we can't give it back now. We have to give it back next week." So I went and got my car, and I followed my own tour bus. And I saw that Ricky Gervais did that in his in David Brent the movie, where they wouldn't let him on the tour bus.
Really?
He followed his own tour bus. So that it actually does happen. But I knew what I don't miss is when we did stop, and I texted everyone on the tour bus, "You're going to get out. We were at the service station." And they texted back, "We're just watching the end of the Karate Kid.
Well,
Could you get us some Burger King?" And this is my tour bus, which I'm paying for. These are all my employees. I went in there and I got them all meals. While they came in, they were all with drinks, watching the end of the Karate Kid.
Oh, you're kidding.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's not the way it should be.
So now I'm driving myself to gigs. There's no point. So I'm just going and I meet everyone there. So that's been a major adjustment on this tour. Yeah.
What didn't you like about a tour bus? Well, I mean, to be fair, they can be fairly horrific.
I just felt sick. Felt sick on them. I was trying to watch a DVD, and they're quite big.
Yeah.
And every time I went round a corner, I just felt sick. So
right.
No, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, when I was on one, I used to keep sitting up and in the bunks and just you'd walk around with a big lump on the back of your head.
Exactly.
Okay, so just going forward then, obviously I've read somewhere you're a big Brentford fan.
Yes. Well, I mean, I live very near the stadium.
Yeah.
The joke there was I still play football because I'm still trying to get spotted by Brentford. That's when they're in League One, but they're a Premier League team now. I can't do that joke. But I'm actually a Chelsea fan. I'm a Chelsea fan, and since I've moved to Suffolk,
right,
I support the local team there, which is Ipswich Town.
Right, okay.
Games. Because anyone who loves football who's in their 50s remember that Ipswich had a great team in the 80s, where Bobby Robson was the manager. So. And the first 3 games I went to, they kept drawing 2-2. It was like every game 2-2, second game 2-2, third game 2-2. So the 4th game I showed up wearing a tutu. And it was a great game, but the Ipswich Town fans didn't quite see the satirical side of it. So I got heckled.
Are you kidding?
So get that off, take that off. It was very funny.
Brilliant. Okay, the other bit of news at the moment then is a new Bond movie. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
No, my support act went to see it today because they're travelling up from Maidstone today. I went home to Ipswich, so no. But I talk about the Bond film in the show. Actually, I have some exclusive information about the next Bond film.
Oh, okay.
Which is why it's another thing. When you've done lots of films, you get all the goss. And, and I reveal that in the show.
Oh, brilliant.
It's actually very funny. So I reveal that in the show about what the next Bond film is, and how they're going to make it financially viable.
Right.
Very
okay.
exciting.
I'm looking forward to this now. Okay, I was going to ask. We have like a just for fun question. We kind of thought we'd play on the Bond theme. If you could be any Bond baddie, what would your weapon of choice be?
What my weapon of choice be?
Yeah.
Wow. I think harpoons are very underrated.
Yeah.
They were only used in Thunderball.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's time to bring back the harpoon. And harpoons not used underwater either. Just use them. Just in above sea level.
Yeah.
I think they're very exciting weapons.
Okay, excellent choice. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, just going forward then. Talked about, obviously you've been in movies, you've done TV, you've obviously been quite busy. What's next for you after the tour?
It's something very exciting actually. During lockdown, as an exercise, I tried to do stand-up in the Persian language because I'm Iranian.
Yeah.
So I thought, can I try and be funny? Because I've told jokes in the Persian language, but I've never done stand-up. So I'd already done like I've been a guest on a talk show, which is shot outside of Iran. And,
right.
The host said, "Would you like to host the show one episode?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I hosted it. So I had to do the opening monologue for 8 minutes. So and it was tough because I didn't even get a chance to practice it. I just kind of did it, and it went really well. So amazingly, BBC Persia have offered me my own talk show in the Persian language, which is great. But and BBC Persia is a massive platform. They've got about a viewership of about 40 million people, and that's that. And then even like a daytime show regularly gets 18, 19 million people.
Wow.
So we're going to do an English version of, and hopefully you'll see that on one of the BBC channels, and I'll get my Persian language show. Same show, but 2 different languages, and the idea is to make it the most watched comedy show on the planet.
Oh, brilliant.
So it's very exciting.
Okay, well, in terms of comedy then, what's it like out there? Does the British comedy kind of translate over there? Because I know you go to some countries and you kind of like to Fawlty Towers and you carry on movies and things like that. They're all hugely popular in other countries. What about in Iran? Is that the same?
I think they look. The only thing they all watched was Benny Hill.
Oh, right, okay.
Back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And in general, comedy doesn't really happen on the channels at all. So it's quite amazing. The BBC Persia, which is a channel that broadcasts directly into Iran. It's amazing that I'm going to be, the first comedy show they're going to have.
Right, okay.
And I think it's allowed because they kind of see me as the godfather of stand-up comedy for Iranians.
Right, okay.
But it's interesting because Iranian comedians can't really show their faces. A lot of the comedy is sketch comedy from the 80s and 90s, and 70s actually. And then they do their stuff online, or they're faceless comedians who just do voiceover work.
Right, okay.
So they're all like sending me messages saying good luck.
Yeah.
It's pretty brave what you're doing. So yeah, there is an appreciation for it, but the Iranians themselves are very, very funny. I have to say, their own sense of humor is very absurd.
Okay.
And it's comparable to the British sense of humor, I'd say, actually. Out of all the sense of humor around the world that I've come across, I would say the Iranian sense of humor is probably the closest to the British. I know a lot of Iranians will disagree with me, but actually if you look at the stuff they're doing online now, it's all the comedy of the absurd is pretty big. So I would say it's quite close to a British sensibility. Okay,
what was your introduction to stand-up? Because I know you were born in Britain, weren't you?
Yeah, I was born in Britain, and my introduction to stand-up were my parents, actually, because my parents are very funny. In fact, in my mother's will, I've only just realised there's a bit in wills in Iran where you can say what you like.
Right.
She gave a list of all the gags she'd done which had upset people. She could just know I never meant anything. And to my friend Minu, when I made fun of you, I wasn't making fun of you. I was making fun of your dress. I didn't think it was appropriate that day. So we had to go and tell people that she'd mentioned about all the gags she'd done that had offended people. So I would say my mum and dad were the ones who also taught me joke construction, because they said the way jokes work is that there's got to be something surprising which elicits a reaction. So comedy is not about shock, it's about surprise. and that's what is funny. So they're the first people who kind of taught me joke construction.
Right.
And it's a shame because neither of them really saw me become well known as a comedian.
Yeah.
So I like to feel they've been assisting me somehow from worlds beyond this one. But yeah, I would say my parents were the first to introduce me to it.
Perfect, and I think that's probably a great way to end. And thank you. I mean, really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us. Like I said, we're looking forward to the lead show next week, so hopefully we'll catch up. Just to finish, then, have you got any message to any of your fans that are coming out? No, I just want to wrap this interview up.
I just want to say, if there are any Leeds United fans coming, I've got a big bit on Bielsa. So, come along. I'm a huge Marcelo Bielsa fan, actually.
Yeah, right.
I've got lots to make to a Leeds fan, and they connect with me because I remember crying. Do you know in the days when in the 70s there was ever an English football team in Europe?
Yeah.
As British people, we just followed the British team, and I remember Leeds played Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
In a European Cup final of '75. And Peter Lorimer scored an absolute worldie, an amazing volley.
Right.
And it was deemed offside. And I remember when they played it back, they didn't make a big deal of it. The two players who were offside, I think one of them was Terry Yorath, Gabby Yorath's dad.
Yeah.
And he clearly wasn't offside. And I remember screaming at the TV and crying because I thought this is a real injustice to the British team. And I remember saying that at school, and like there was a kid who was a Leeds fan. He became really good friends with me. So whenever I met Leeds fans, I always say I cried. I've got lots of Leeds people follow me because they like the fact that when I was 10, I was really upset about Peter Lorimer's disallowed goal.
Well,
even now in my 50s, I said, change the game, mate, and change the game. They could have won that, it was all. I get very passionate about it.
Yeah, well, I'm an Evertonian, so I grew up in Liverpool, so I keep my football allegiance quite quiet.
Yeah. Oh, yesterday. Oh, what was Yerry Mina thinking?
Oh yeah,
God.
and I saw that. I couldn't believe that.
Why didn't Tom Davies? If it was me, I just would have shot.
Well, that's what they were saying. Yeah, that's absolutely unbelievable.
Incredible.
Perfect.
Incredible.
Well, brilliant. Well, like I said, I really appreciate your time. Good luck with the show tonight, and hopefully we'll catch up in Leeds.
Thanks, man. Take care, Clark. Bye-bye now. Cheers.